So I'm recording this on the day of the Jupiter Cazimi, and also what's happening is the Venus-Uranus conjunction. It's probably out of tune, but definitely out of tune. And Mars is conjoining with the North Node. So today that I'm recording this is like a very full energy. How did it get so bad? Trying to really feel like the whole moment. Now that that's taken care of, that's better. And one of the most remarkable things happened. I shared something on my community page. It was a picture that struck me. It came up on one of my social media things that I don't really look at that stuff very much, but once in a while I go on. And it was a picture of Ava Gardner. Ava Gardner's stunning, right? She's famous for being absolutely gorgeous. And the thing that's interesting about the picture, though, it's not her in her pinup phase or her in 1941 or whatever. It's her in 1964. And she is with Richard Burton, and of course, they're both gorgeous humans, beautiful people, but they've aged naturally. They're not augmented. That's the word I want to say. Feed the babies. I have to work on that one. And so I posted that, and I posted a picture of Nicole Kidman. It's this magazine. This is the one that threw me off. She's almost 60, and she's done a lot of things to change her face. I don't know, man. Just something about that just made me feel like this doesn't look right. This isn't correct. But the point is, I put the two things side by side. I put Ava Gardner at 41 with the lines of her laugh lines and, bags under her eyes or whatever, darkness under her eyes. And it's a picture I had of me from our trip that I didn't like because I had so many lines here. And then I saw her and I was like, okay, to me, she's beautiful. And why can't that be beautiful? That is beautiful. So anyways, the thing is I put this on the community page, and the comments that are coming through are so enriching. They're so beautiful. They're so empowering, inspiring. If you haven't had a chance to look at it yet, I really do recommend it. If this is anything interesting to you whatsoever, there's some very incredible comments on there, and it just makes me feel like so much of this issue that I personally have and I've shared about is starting to open up. It's starting to open up and free me, and it's hopefully freeing some other people too. It's just so exciting. And that's happening today. It's happening on this day when the Uranus and Venus conjoin and Sun, Jupiter, Cazimi. So it just feels so optimistic rather than pessimistic, which is what I was feeling before. That's just the flow of life. And that's when you can look at astrology and it actually means something. If you can't apply it to life or philosophy or your active principle of whatever you're doing and try to understand those little nuances of what life is, what's the whole point of any of it? Sun and Jupiter are together. Jupiter has a big story at the end of May. Not only is it getting this Cazimi at 28 degrees, then it's coming into a conjunction with Venus at the 29th anaretic degree. That's two benefics to big, beautiful energy. Venus belongs, quote unquote, in Taurus, and Jupiter is very happy to be there in Taurus as well. And bringing up all this sensual, gosh, have you seen how much food I've been showing lately? There's a reason for it. It's sensuality. It's enjoyment. It's just, delightful deliciousness. And that's what's coming to the forefront with these two together. But we also have Uranus in the mix, and we have all these other things going on at the same time. So that's where we have to kind of pull it apart. But Jupiter is the big ticket item. So not only did they come into that conjunction, so we have another setting of these two benefics, and then Jupiter's going to enter a whole new sign, enter Gemini, and that's going to switch so much. It's going to switch this collective experience of optimism, or what we're focused on. Jupiter in Gemini is a little complicated because technically it's in exile. So Jupiter belongs across the way, all the way on the other side in Sagittarius. When it's in Gemini, it's as far away as possible. Now, these two things, Gemini and Sagittarius, they have a lot of things in common. They're both about search and information and going out and pulling information from the world, and that's both of them are sort of interested in those things. But Sagittarius is more about taking those ideas and making something of them into wisdom. Movement forward with a bigger idea, and the Gemini is more like details, detail, detail, all the content, all the information. I can collect all of it, and so I have this vast library of ideas and thoughts and how to express, and it's super quick. And it can. When I was in high school, I was in the speech and debate team, and that's what kind of reminds me of Gemini sometimes. That I wasn't a good debater. I was on the speech section of the team, or I just would perform speeches or whatever. But the debate kids, they had to have their little Filodex with all their data, all their documents, all their stuff that they could prove their point, because you'd have one topic and you'd prepare everything on either side of the argument. So sometimes you'd be for and sometimes you'd be against. You didn't know what you were going to get until you were ready to do the debate with the other team. And so that's kind of reminds me of, okay, that's Gemini. I can be on both sides of this argument. I know these answers. I know these answers. I know this data. I know this data. I can give you evidence here. I can give you evidence there. That's what Gemini can do. And on the other side is Sagittarius going, yeah, but what does it mean? What does it mean in the long run? What can we get out of this for the wisdom? So Jupiter going into Gemini, I never feel like it's a bad thing when a planet is out of its comfort zone, because especially when it's on the other side of its dualistic cycle, it feels so much more like it has a chance to fulfill its integration of itself, if that makes sense. I've been learning a lot about that as the divine feminine and divine masculine that's inside of us, right? That's kind of feels like for planets too. They have an integration of their other side. So the other side of this version of Jupiter, and Sagittarian Jupiter, is Gemini. And it sees like, well, sure, wisdom's great, philosophy's great, all these things about, higher learning, law, education, religion, all this spirituality, all these things are great, but what are they made of? They're made of all these little bits, all these little details, all this information that comes together to create the foundation for wisdom to be or not to be. Yeah. Got to give credit to the Sabian mysteries. If you're ever wondering where I get these Sabian symbols, it's jamesburgess.com. Someday maybe I'll meet Mr. Burgess, but I do love his way of coming to these ideas. He's a very poetic and wise person. The Sabian symbol for the Jupiter Cazimi comes in at Taurus 29, and it's two cobblers working at a table. Now, cobblers make shoes, they fix shoes, and there's two of them. They're working side by side. The thing that they say here is it's about respecting another's point of view, or understanding someone else's way of being, and seeing that life requires more objectivity about our own opinions and beliefs, respecting other ways of being and doing. So I think that's kind of coming together too with this whole concept of the physicality, comparing modern actresses to actresses from the 60s and seeing the difference of what's expected. That's the expectation. That's what I seem like we maybe don't understand, how critical the collective is, and what the collective believes as a whole is how we are allowed to experience individuality. For example, it was totally fine. There was no other option for Ava Gardner to just age naturally. That's the way it was. And for Nicole Kidman, for example, she has other options, and so the requirements are different. When we went to the opera, the first one we saw was Cavalleria Rustica or something like that. Anyway, the whole story, it was taking place in Sicily, and it was about this woman, Santuzza, I think her name was, and she is not allowed to go into church. It's Easter, and she's not allowed to go in, and she's all in black, and they won't let her in because she had slept with a man and not married him. He didn't want to marry her. He was still in love with somebody else that got married to another man. All these Italian operas, I mean, it comes back to this. But anyway, so Santuzza couldn't go in because she was discommunicated because she had slept with somebody before marriage. And And he could still go into the church. It was no problem for him. And it was so sad because she just sings this song about not being able to connect with God because of her behavior and what she did. Now, fast forward to modern day, I mean, that's just absolutely not part of our collective experience anymore. It's totally different. So it's about the point of view that we have when we're sitting next to another person, we're working side by side. I feel like it's multiplying what we can get to. Because if I'm sitting next to another person, like for example, if we're two cobblers and we're making shoes, and I don't know how to do a high heel, I don't know, whatever, and the person next to me is like, okay, I know how to do a high heel, then they can show me, we can speak the same sort of language, and then I can learn from that person how to make a high heel, and then maybe something else I know how to do and they don't know how to do it, and I can show them how to do it or whatever. Just because we have one way of doing something, it doesn't mean that we can't learn from someone else a new way. Jupiter Cazimi Sun, this whole entire year, is about being more pulled back about our perspective and seeing, okay, maybe this person that I disagree with, maybe they're just expressing something I don't understand yet. And that's okay. Like, you don't have to agree with people. You don't have to agree with the way the cobbler next to you is making the shoe. But it doesn't mean it's wrong. It's still going to be a shoe. Who knows what the quality of the shoe is. Anyway, it's a shoe. Here's what James Burgess says in the integrity part. We need the wisdom of others, Jupiter's wisdom, and so we need to learn how to facilitate sharing in order to optimize our achievements and joy. This is because we are all connected in each and aspect of each other. Neither achievement nor joy is meaningful or even possible without the sharing of it. So that brings me back to this beautiful experience with the community post and how sharing our difficulties, sharing our issues, how mundane they may seem. Because even the mundane and simplistic, potentially trite things or whatever, they build the foundation of our lives, of our reality. And if there's cracks in them and there's illusions in them, the disillusionment is potentially going to make the crack a little bit bigger. But when we share it and we don't have this feeling of being alone in that experience, and other people come in and they fill in the crack with, hey, I've felt that too, or I've experienced that too, or hey, I've gotten past it and it's okay. That's what just strengthens us. And we can't do it alone. This is called community, and that's part of this dualism. Anytime you see it, it's like we have this collective experience. We have these rules set upon us by what's expected, accepted, like Santuzza in Sicily in the 1800s. Different now. But still, we're under these new versions of whatever is expected from the collective. So there's boundaries that get put upon us, but also there's ways to break out of that. When we allow other people into our pain, our fear, our issues, it builds a bridge to something so beautiful, because you're not alone, not alone. The next thing that happens for Jupiter is the conjunction with Venus. That happens at Taurus 30 degrees, and that's the symbol of a peacock parading on an ancient lawn. That's embellishment. Our personal displays of excellence bears testimony to all that went before us, embellishing our life expression. So for the entire period of those two, the benefics that they meet together, that's going to be showing off a little bit, showing off your beauty, showing off your personal expression and your own experience of who you are. And it says, individuality seeks both maturity of understanding and full substantiation of worth. Wisdom and wealth, gifts inherited and improved upon, are shown to be part of the flowering of cultural aspirations and its pride and joy. Our personal displays of excellence bear testimony to all that went before us. I just think that's so gorgeous. It's so beautiful. After that conjunction, Jupiter moves into Gemini, and it's a year of that. It's going to be a complete shift. And that happens, I think, the 25th of May. So we've got some interesting stuff coming up. I just want to say thank you for allowing me to be myself, to express myself, to share these things, talk about clowns once in a while when it's appropriate. And anyway, honestly, sincerely, I just want to say thank you. And I like you just the way you are. I'll talk to you soon, okay?